Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Steve Allegrezza, Executive Director of IFRA. I'm joined today by Keith Stamey and Scott Lombardo from Gulfstream Shippers Association and Blue Water Logistics. They're here to talk to us a little bit about the global supply chain, the challenges that we're seeing today, just all the disruptions that we've seen throughout, really since COVID, and how we can sort of stay informed, stay up to date, how Gulfstream Shippers Association is changing their approach and applying some solutions to support the industry and support a changing supply chain, always evolving supply chain. So we wanted to sit down and talk to them and listen to what they had to say and learn a little bit. So Keith, I wanted to ask you the first question. So let's go back to COVID. So what impact did COVID have on really the current environment, the changing landscape of logistics? When I'm talking like holistically here, so ocean, domestic trucking, warehousing. Let's start there, and then we can move forward.
Okay. Well, you hit it and thanks for having us, by the way. You hit it on the head initially. The word I've got written down, to start off with is volatility. Extremely volatile 2020 COVID year, which saw the first half of the year on the import side, the volume decreased by 7.4%. The contraction in the volume led steamship lines to begin blank sailing ships to the tune of 1,000 voyages in the first half of 2020. And they started consolidating shipping routes and focused on just the major ports with those the sailings that they did. So the capacity reduction resulted in lower shipping costs for the steamship lines and mitigated the downward pressure on rates. So rates began to rise. In Q3 and Q4, as we began to emerge out of COVID, activity increased significantly as a sharp rise in consumer demand year over year, and container shipping went up 16.8%. And in December, it was a 30% increase, or over 30% increase. So the steamship line struggled to get the capacity back in the pipeline, and there were container shortages at major ports. The shortages were exacerbated really by misallocation of containers during the early months of 2020 when they used they used containers for storage. They did more long-term storage with those containers due to the lower shipping volume. On top of that, the orders and production of new shipping containers basically went to a minimum because of the first half of the year. And the shortage of containers were also compounded by longer turnaround times because of the bottlenecks at the ports as well. So with that, add an insult to injury, the infection rates among the workers at the ports were significantly high. They negatively impacted the port operations and their abilities to load and unload the vessels. So as most of us know, this pushed the ocean rates up really as much as 500% higher than pre-pandemic levels. To put that in context on the furniture industry, pre-pandemic, a landed freight rate or landed ocean rate to the East Coast had door rates in the mid $4,000 range and hit a high water mark in the low $20,000 range. So with furniture valued at roughly $16,000 on a wholesale on a 40-foot high cube shipping container, basically the costed land of goods or the freight on cost of goods went from about 25%, roughly 25% to 125%. So when you move on to the domestic side, basically, with all, with the entire sectors of that first half, entire sectors of the economy shut down, and the reduced container volumes, they were at historic lows in the U.S. Trucks of course, had less freight to haul, and trucking companies couldn't sustain their payroll, and as a result, that just exacerbated the the truck driver shortage, because they laid off drivers, and those drivers found other occupations. They went into light duty trucks, and started delivering the e-commerce that was skyrocketing during that period. And as the country emerged from the from the lockdowns, that driver shortage was, at the start of 2021, over 81,000 drivers short. And what that led to was, domestic trucking rates increased to the highest level they've been in 15 years, up 20.8% to an average of $1.86 a mile, and from pre-pandemic levels, of course. And then on the warehousing side, the furniture warehouses for importers were at, near, or over capacity due to the disrupted supply chain, and that created a change in order patterns, and the industry. I will make a note that the industry has never fully recovered from that and returned to what I'll use air quotes and say normal. Because importers, since that time, the way it's affected it, is the importers have become more transactional, and the steamship lines have learned how to better manipulate capacity and pricing due to what was forced on them during the pandemic. And then it created a very volatile market, and actually created more of a need for a company like ours to help navigate these disruptions in the market and stabilize the rates.
Yeah. So how did all these changes really impact some of the order patterns and pricing that we saw, due to all the supply chain limitations and capacity?
Well, in the second half of 2020, furniture importers, and we'll speak furniture importers specifically, changed the way they order, because importers began ordering and stocking significantly more product due to the fear of not having consistent container availability. And they did that to keep steady flow of incoming goods, and it, with the increased economic activity towards the end of the year, they were afraid that they wouldn't have enough stock, so they really stocked more than they had in the past. They due to this, the ocean rates and cost of warehousing goods caused prices to soar, for durable goods in general, and specifically furniture, because the cost of landed goods virtually doubled.
Okay.
Then when the economy took a quick turnaround, or quick downturn in 2021, and recession fears hit, consumer demand decreased, leaving importers warehouses with dead product, full of dead product. So the furniture shippers were forced to sell off the slow-moving goods at a loss, and to make room for new introductions. And the issue was compounded for a majority of the furniture shippers, because everybody was virtually in the same boat. And all of this activity, at least in some part, created an environment where we had a couple of large manufacturers and importers go out of business, the Klausners and Mitchell Golds and United Furnitures of the world. So it really changed the landscape going forward dramatically.
Yeah. And I think we're still feeling the repercussions from that. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the challenges that are happening now. So I understand, and again, I'm no expert here, but there's some issues with the Panama Canal. So talk to me about like how the Panama Canal issue, global climate is affecting ocean transportation right now.
Steve, thank you so much for having us, and I'll take this question if that's okay, Keith. What do we know about the Panama Canal and its current climate is obviously something that's impactful daily. And with regard to what the current climate situation is that's impacting that particular region. So right now, we know that it's down about a third from what its average, what its normality should be. So normally there's about 36 ships a day that traverse the canal, and it is down exactly one third. So it's about 24 ships a day that traverse the canal. That impact currently is causing an over 4-day transit delay in regard to that, and roughly about 100 million tons of cargo, to kind of give you a little bit of background from a weight perspective.
Wow. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That's roughly about 15% of all US-based shipping. Imports and exports occur through that Panama Canal. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea as the impact of what's happening there right now. We've seen extended delays, like I said, of 4 days or more with regard to that. And a lot of that's being impacted simply because of global climate change.
Sure.
December for Panama was while it provided some relief, going into the new year and the new El Nino cycle that's continuing on, the canal's impacted because of that. It wasn't as strong. It's at one of the lowest levels following an El Nino cycle. Lake Gatun, which is the freshwater lake that feeds the canal essentially for backup situations like this, is severely impacted. Because of that, and from engineering aspects of the Panama Canal, larger ships which require more clearance essentially to make it through the canal need more water, and when that happens, we're seeing those delays in order to conserve that water cycle. Obviously, this is a dynamic situation. It changes daily. We all hope that there's going to be more water, more rain into that area, that hopefully this El Nino pattern will end and everything will return back to normal. But currently, that's essentially what's being impacted at this time.
Okay, so $1 million question: like, how does the Gulfstream team, navigate those delays? Like, what do you do to avoid surcharges that are associated with delays? Help me out there.
Well, in regard to that, a lot of what we do is find alternative routings that will make up that time. If we're looking at situations where we're on a delay and they've reduced that transit, and you're going to sit there and wait for opportunity through that canal, a lot of times, let's be honest, time is money. And so, yeah, we might pick up a day or two and find an alternative route. Other alternative options are obviously using different ports of call. If it's coming in West Coast, utilizing rail, utilizing alternative drayage options to move that product across country so that we can optimize that time and transit for you. Costs become nullified one way or the other. And I say that simply because where you pick up one in a situation like this, you might eliminate another and vice versa, right? So we might avoid some of the seasonality charges associated with these challenges that are occurring in the Panama Canal and these surcharges. You get it into LA and you're going to pick up some dray charges, So we're doing our best to try to nullify a lot of those costs to our customers and obviously, optimally, move that product in as timely a manner as possible for everyone in mind, so that those delays from a sales rep perspective and having to write or explain those off to a customer are nullified or mitigated as much as possible.
That's great. So you've explained kind of what's going on with the Panama Canal. What about the Suez Canal or the Red Sea? I know there's some geopolitical issues happening over there. What's happening with ocean freight times and rates specifically, in that neck of the woods?
Yeah, and I'll take that, Scott. Yeah, the Red Sea crisis was something that we truly didn't see coming. as a nation, not like it has grown into. And the bad thing is that it coincided with Lunar New Year, where China is shut down for 2 weeks. Basically, the whole country virtually shuts down, and it fueled a real sharp spike in ocean freight rates in February and March. Basically, rates went up 146% to the East Coast and 186% to the West Coast. Right now, we're seeing that upward pressure on the rates. It's peaked and starting to come back down. But with that, even though what happens is they have an extra 14 days one way going around the Sea of Good Hope. So the effects of that are that there's more fuel that they're burning. There's more labor costs because there's 28 additional days round trip. So the crisis, even though it doesn't affect the West Coast as with going through the Suez Canal or going through around the Cape of Good Hope, they're still passing, the steamship lines are passing that on all vessels to the U.S. East and West Coast. So, that being said, the West Coast is not affected by transit times, but it has raised those rates. And the quarterly bunker fuel, that the fuel surcharge, I'll tell you, the next quarter it adjusts for us every quarter, and it will most definitely go up because of the additional fuel that they're burning with those vessels.
Okay, so how is Gulfstream going to address this moving forward?
Well, I guess first let me explain what sets Gulfstream apart from freight forwarders and MVOCCs, which helps us combat a lot of these things. But basically, we're treated as a BCO, which is a beneficial cargo owner. Think of it as we are treated by the steamship lines a lot like the big box stores, the Walmarts of the world, where we sign annual contracts that run from May 1st to April 30th each year. And for the most part, those rates are very stable. We still are subject to the bunker fuel adjustments that come out on a quarterly basis. So just our model in general insulates us from the market volatility that you see, because we're not susceptible to the GRIs. We're not susceptible to the peak season surcharges unless we mutually agree on that through discussions. So basically, it allows our members to plan their shipping costs and product pricing for the entire year. Also, as a BCO, we have priority boarding or priority loading on the vessels, which mitigates the capacity issues that a lot of your guys that are on the spot market, your freight forwarders, your MVOCCs that they see. So again, just to reiterate, our unique business model provides the stable rates across a contract year and vessel space, since we've got the priority boarding. Another thing we're doing, and we've done in the past, is we're currently negotiating the new contracts with 12 of the 13 major steamship lines, so we can secure the best possible rates and reserve space allocation across multiple steamship lines. We use the buying power, our overall buying power, as leverage in these negotiations, specifically benefits the small to mid-size importer. And our strategy is basically to secure rates, going back to the Suez, it's to secure rates based on if there was no crisis, and have the have a surcharge added while the Red Sea is still in play and while they're still having to go around the Suez Canal, so that when the crisis subsides, we're back at at what I'll call a normal rate without without that added amount for the additional time to go around the additional the additional labor. We also keep open lines of communication, especially this time of year, with senior level steamship personnel on this crisis and any future disruptions in the supply chain, and utilize our experience and our expertise and our relationships within the industry to navigate and minimize the impact to our customers.
Okay, so we're talking, I hate to even bring this up, it's probably too soon, but so speaking of crisis and just disruption, so let's think about like what happened at the Baltimore port. So there are a lot of reps on this call, right? And so I'm very curious to know, like, how is that disaster, which is tragedy, how is that going to impact our industry, impact delays, commerce, just generally speaking?
Sure, you bet. And I'll take this one. It looks like we're playing tennis, Keith, but to keep it a little bit more entertaining and lively. Let's see. With regard to this particular tragedy, let's be honest, this is one of those unexpecteds nobody knows about. This is a one-off. You're like, how could this happen, right? Well, from shipments on the water currently, a lot of those have already been rerouted. They're utilizing local ports up and down the coast, those that are on the water. And then with regard to transit times from a allotment of chassis and trucking and stuff like that, that's something that's being done currently, and those costs unfortunately get passed on to the customer. It's an assessment that happens from the ocean line perspective because it's something that they couldn't control. It was an unknown, correct? The current situation with that as of today is that they have opened a limited access channel because there are currently 11 ships that are still stuck in port. Okay. There's a limited access channel, which is 85 meters by 11 meters, about 35 feet deep right now. Army Corps of Engineers was able to get that open today. And that'll free up some transit, but they don't expect until the end of May to reopen a permanent 700-foot wide by 50-foot deep channel, which will allow for actual full movement, for lack of a better term, of ships inbound and outbound. And actually, I think something like of the 11 that are there, 5 won't be able to leave until May because of the size of the vessel. How does that impact a lot of our reps in the furniture industry? Luckily, not as badly as one would think. Majority of product moving in and out of Baltimore was farming equipment, automobiles. It's one of the largest import cities for overseas cars in transit and for large farm implementation equipment. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't impact us in any way. I mean, manufacturing goes where manufacturing's best rate is, right? And there are times that those shipments came into that particular port. And so what we're seeing is obviously reutilization of ports along the coast, modifications to that shipping schedule and delivery, and then a remodification from a drayage perspective of chassis and movement to bring it back to original ports and warehousing. What has been interesting also, just so everyone is aware, is that particular bridge handled all trucking basically around the city of Baltimore. So now what you're seeing is literally a 1.5 to 2 day delay for transit in and around the city of Baltimore from a trucking perspective, because that bridge was a vital also trucking link for the loop around the Baltimore area. And so if you do have product that is moving north to south that would have gone or engaged through the Baltimore metro area or warehouses or things like that in the area, that has been impacted from an LTL and full truckload perspective in delay of transit. So those are the particular things that are happening there. As far as plans going forward, we open communication. We're maintaining levels of communication with all of our carriers that are bringing product in, and we're aware of what shipments are coming in. We're maintaining that high level of communication with our customer base, so that this way, which is something we're known for, is maintaining that rapport and understanding and openness so we can properly help prepare and solve those put solutions in place to solve those problems and mitigate as much issue as possible. The timeline for reconstruction of that bridge is probably at least a year to 2 years out, incomplete, totality. But we're grateful that with what we have in place and the communication that we have and maintaining that communication with the ocean lines and everything, we're able to minimize that impact to our customers in that particular way.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my next question is, what do you guys do to minimize the effects of that sort of, I think in the insurance world, they call that like an act of God kind of an event, right? Like where it's just unforeseen, but when those challenges arise, what do you guys do? I mean, can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I like to say that logistics is a giant puzzle, except that the pieces are constantly changing shape every day, And so in regard to that, in any of these situations, what we're trying to do is on the fly with our expertise, know the alternative options that we have available for our customers while maintaining cost concerns and time of transit concerns. Our sales reps in the furniture industry do a great job of representing their product and making sure that product is being presented, and they expect that those customers expect that product to get there on time within certain windows and safely. We help bridge that gap, and through those cost concerns and things like that, when these situations arrive, we want to make sure that your sales reps, the furniture sales reps, have that information, that their customers are aware of what's going on, that those particular situations are accounted for, and we help maintain that rapport that they've established with their customer base. Because there are things that happen, but we want to make sure that everyone comes out as a shining example of how we can facilitate and pivot when these occur. And so from trucking relationships that we have, through ocean partner relationships that we have such a wide variety of partners that we're able to pretty much pivot and facilitate any kind of movement that needs to be done and adjust accordingly. And I think that is key in that relationship with your reps, logistics and manufacturing teams, and those supply chain folks, and then our side as a supplier of a lot of that particular carrier relationship. I think that's a lot of where we come into play in helping find the right puzzle piece to fit into that particular slot as it keeps changing and help mitigate those kind of concerns.
Sure. Thank you. Keith, anything you want to add to that, just about what Gulfstream or Blue Water is doing to minimize, the impacts of a challenge when it arises, or anything that you're seeing on the horizon that we need to be aware of, and what, if so, what are you guys doing to mitigate our industry's risk?
Well, I think everybody would agree over the last 4 years that the only thing constant is change. And we're just, we don't know nobody knows what the next crisis is going to be. Again, when we have indicators, we'll start working on an action plan. But as Scott was mentioning with the Baltimore report, nobody knew that was going to happen until it happened. So now we know it's a possibility. So what's our action plans going forward? But just from a global aspect of what we're doing to help mitigate any future disruptions or crisis or whatever, is I mentioned that we're currently in contract negotiations with the steamship lines, and those contracts should be signed the last week of April, taking effect May 1. We anticipate signing contracts with the majority of the 12 ocean carriers that we're in negotiations with, and what that does, it allows us to use a variety of options, in the event of high capacity, and it gives us negotiation leverage, if there's a capacity surplus and rates dip. So, we try to protect ourselves and our customers, from both directions on the ocean side. On the blue water side, which is the domestic division, we're continuing to expand our asset-based trucking partners on drayage, truckload, LTL. And, what this does is help us, it helps us smooth out any economic volatility and provide stability for our customers, but also improves service and increases our drayage capacity and helps us keep delivery costs down. As a group, we do a lot of reading around here. We do a lot of looking at the world news and industry news that could potentially affect the shipping patterns or the rates or capacity, and we look at worst case scenarios and what can we do to develop action plans to combat that. We also utilize, the 100+ years of combined experience in the industry to help navigate challenges that may arise. And but above all, we keep open lines of communication with our members and our customers to provide guidance on possible disruptions and keep them up to date of the plans of action.
All right. So how do what does that look like? Tell me, how do you keep your customers, your members informed and prepared?
Well, we, as a group, Gulfstream and Blue Water, we pride ourselves on being large enough to service any high volume customer, but small enough to keep those personal relationships. We want those. We want that personal interaction. So we have individual communication with our customers on a regular basis, and try to keep them up to date, but also keep a pulse on their needs and challenges. One of our two of our core values are that we're solutions driven, and we believe in collaborative empowerment. So we listen and work with our customers to create custom solutions tailored to their needs. And if you look at Scott's title, we don't have a sales team. We have a solutions team. We want to be able to drive solutions versus try to sell somebody something. Another core value is ethical partnership. We believe in building those trusting relationships with our customers. To have the tough conversations when challenges are ahead, and to celebrate and thrive when the seas are calm, so to speak. And another core value is optimization. And this is, as far as communication, this is where we're really driving, real-time communication is, we have and continue to invest in technology. On the Gulfstream side, we have helped develop a customized TMS because there really wasn't a good option out there for ocean freight. We just completed the testing phase. Our booking team will start entering those sample orders Tuesday of next week, actually. And our plan is to have the tool completely in service by no later than May 1st. When it's fully functional, steamship lines and our domestic delivery partners will provide real-time electronic updates into our system through an EDI or an API integration. And that way that allow our customers to track their shipments from port to door. We can also generate customized customer reporting internally. We can scorecard the ocean and domestic carriers, and helps us streamline our operations. Blue Water currently utilizes a domestic TMS that provides real-time updates on any of their domestic truck shipments, as well as their domestic and international air shipments. we have online tracking through our website with that. In addition, on the warehousing side with Blue Water, we provide third-party warehousing services, and we have an industry-leading warehouse management system that provides the customers real-time inventory and shipment data, so they can utilize our tool to basically balance their stock. And then we've invested in the premium software at Salesforce, and it's being used as our CRM for our solutions team. The tool will automatically electronically import email communications from a customer to anybody that has a company email address. It allows us to log phone calls and in-person conversations with our customers, so that if any team member gets a call, they can go straight into the CRM and see what has happened, what has transpired with that customer over the life of the relationship.
That's great. So market is a week away, right? We got some really talented sales and marketing professionals, some sales reps on the call, some industry professionals. So what can they, how should they prepare their customers? What sort of expectations should they set to make sure their customers, their retailers, ultimately have a good, positive experience just when it comes to everything that is happening in the supply chain?
Scott, tag, you're it.
Well, this was a great example of something that can be done. And Steve, thank you so much for inviting us and having the opportunity to have this conversation with the sales reps, because the only way to know what's going on is to actually have folks or communicate information in such a way that everybody's getting it, right? And having a webinar like this with regard to the current situations that are happening globally that can impact your manufacturers, the import of goods, and movement across domestically in the marketplace, all of these things are impactful to our furniture reps. And so having the opportunity to have this meeting and have this conversation, I think, is key, because the folks here that are on it right now and the folks that are going to download this later are going to have this information, in their toolbox with regard to questions that come up from the customer, and it's just a matter of setting proper expectations. We now know through this call that there is a 4-day transit delay for anything that's coming through Panama Canal. Prep your customers accordingly. On average, there's an increase of 4-day sailing times for any product that needs to come to the East Coast minimum that would have gone through the Panama Canal. Having that level of expectation sets your customer in a positive light, so that if we do beat transit times in any way, you're far more of a hero, right? And just a matter of properly setting that expectation of under promise, over deliver, which we're also very, very familiar with in our daily lives, right? And setting that appropriate example. We're here to help. Reach out. You have our contact information. We are members of IFRA. Reach out to us. We're happy to share information. If anything, we're sad that we're not giving it away as often as we can, because literally, as Keith said, we are engrossed in this as much as you are with regard to your particular vendors that you're selling for, and the product lines and the features and the fabrics and everything that you do. That is our bread and butter. That is our fabrics. We know exactly what is happening currently, what's up to date, what's going on. Reach out to us. We're looking to be your full-time partner in logistics in every single way we possibly can. Or if you're not utilizing us and you want to use your existing partners, they have that, knock on wood, they have that same knowledge, right? And but what we're saying is you can definitely, whether you're using us or not, reach out to us. We will give you straight information on a daily with regard to these current situations. And being able to have that information in your toolbox and know that you can have a reliable resource to pair with and support you through these kind of questions, I think, is key. The other thing I would say is just know that Baltimore wasn't expected. The Suez Canal situations are never expected. I mean, to give you an example, when Evergreen ran aground in the Suez Canal, it globally impacted $9.6 billion of trade for the 10 days that it was in the situation that it was. These situations are ever occurring. It is if people are involved, or I hate to say it, but now sometimes even if anything's involved with moving something, something could go wrong. So just be prepared for it. Set proper expectations. This is the best timeline we have, but let them know. I mean, things can change. There's things that occur. Your customers generally are aware of this. Some are not. Some have unrealistic expectations. And I think sometimes we need to be, as experts, setting that proper level of expectation for them so that they are aware and not disappointed in what's going on in the global environment.
And Scott, I'll add to that, Steve, I appreciate the question, but one of the things, since this is top of mind now, due to the webinar, is to talk to your, especially these independent reps, talk to your customers and see, if they're importing full containers, direct containers, who's paying the freight on that? Or are they relying on their on their shipper? Are they relying on the furniture importer to handle that? If so, they're probably paying a premium on that. And what we've had a lot of success doing is going to some of the mid to large retailers that import container direct, and we've had a lot of success with with those sales reps, those independent reps, having another tool in their bag, and be able to bring us in to possibly reduce their costs, but B, give them more visibility to their shipments, and have good communication directly with that retailer versus it going through multiple channels to get to them. And in all honesty, we've had a lot of independent reps that put us as another tool in their bag, and we compensate them on a percentage basis, to basically help sell their own product. So, that's something, if anybody has, a retailer that, that they want to pitch that to while they're at market, we're all there. We're happy to come and help, and just gives, additional income to the rep if we sell it, and it gives the customer a break in price and more visibility in their shipments.
Great. So I would be remiss if I didn't leave a few minutes to let anyone on the call ask some questions. So I think at this point, if you guys are open to it, I'd love to open it up for questions.
You bet.
All right, don't everyone jump at once now.
Come on, Keith doesn't bite too hard, I swear.
Well,
It's only Scott you have to worry about.
Yeah. These furniture reps, they're all shy.
Well, in the meantime, I'll throw one out, and it's been a little bit. I'm a little. I'll be the first to admit when I'm uneducated on something. But tell me about, like, I know the Ocean Shipper Reform Act, it was passed a couple years ago, but I feel like something's happened recently with that. Or what? Can you kind of fill everyone in about that? What it does, what it says, what it's meant to do or not do, protect us? Because I feel like that was a kind of something that came from the pandemic and everything that happened during it. Sorry to shoot from the hip here. Just thinking about that earlier today.
No, that's fine. I'll take part of it. Scott wants to add, that's fine. But there are changes. There are changes to it. There's a lot of modifications that are, that are, I believe, are going to come about from this that aren't there yet. One thing to understand is there are no U.S. owned steamship lines. All the major steamship lines are foreign owned. And the vessels are foreign built. So, the U.S. is trying to implement policies and laws that will, that basically will make sure that our adversaries, our political adversaries, have less control over the global shipping market. But in addition to that, I was reading yesterday that they're looking at eliminating in the Miami port specifically, but ports across the U.S. the Chinese built cranes, the container cranes. So it's still being baked out, but I know that there's probably a lot of changes. I'm not sure exactly how they're how they're going to with all the steamship lines being foreign owned, how that's going to work. But I applaud the effort.
Yeah. Scott, did you want to jump in before we see if anyone else has got some questions?
Well, I would say one of the biggest factors involved, and this is, if we're going to talk about impacts to the shipping environment in general since COVID, domestically, we've seen such huge changes with regard to e-commerce, right? And currently in the LTL market, we've seen companies like Yellow go out of business. We've seen acquisitions. We've seen there's a large gluttony currently of capacity in the LTL domestic market. This largely stems from overbuying that occurred during COVID. And what we're seeing is, I would say, probably by the end of this year into the beginning of next year, you're going to see a renormalization of freight domestically in the United States. And you're also going to eliminate what was largely discussed as JIT inventory systems. So just-in-time shipping or just-in-time supply chain. Because of what happened during COVID, I don't think we'll ever get back necessarily to that because of the fear of global change that occurred. You'll most likely see a hybrid environment. People are going to start housing moderate levels of warehousing again in the United States, so that this way there's not a complete dependency on a supply chain system that could be hung up because of global pandemic or something like that. And so you're going to see a lot of those rates that are currently bottomed out in the LTL market, and carriers like, well, FedEx is the largest LTL carrier in the United States, for example. There's a lot of these large LTL carriers that are adding surcharges rather than hitting you with strong rate increase structures. They're finding ways to supplement the rate increase structures through surcharge assessments that become harder to negotiate for a lot of folks, manufacturers, et cetera, here in the United States, because surcharges are just more challenging to negotiate with the carrier. And so one of the things we've been doing is obviously helping mitigate a lot of those costs. A lot of folks don't realize one of the things that we do, and I'm going to kind of step into like maybe a brief commercial of what we kind of do here at Gulfstream. But we are with our combined years of experience, we've actually entered into the realm of offering solution services to the point where we will negotiate with you on your behalf with your carrier to make sure that you are actually getting an impactful agreement that affects your total costing. And so many times, and I can say this because I worked for large logistics companies on the sales side, that a lot of those particular pieces are things that sales reps don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about how your account might be impacted by a reduction of a certain surcharge and how it could much greater benefit you to reduce that surcharge cost than to fight for a 1% discount on the GRI. You know what I mean? A lot of times you're more heavily impacted by these new surcharges that are getting thrown in there. So we have gone into place and assisted several of customers with regard to negotiation and conversation with their sales reps for those carriers and help assist in mitigating some of those costs and end up with financial gains to their effect because of that negotiation. And that is a new piece that we have started offering to our customers in the last year to make sure that we are being a full solution provider. And that's, again, why we don't have a sales team here. We have a solutions team, and why we're working diligently to offer every single solution we can to those folks that need that assistance. And so we do, as you're aware, as members of Gulfstream, we are, and as Keith said, a contract ocean carrier. But on the flip side of that, domestically, we handle LTL, we handle truckload, we handle warehousing. We will be your distribution partner if you're looking for distro in the United States. Overseas, we actually have warehousing in Vietnam where you act as an ocean consolidator. So if you have multiple pieces of product coming in from various manufacturers in Vietnam, we can consolidate that there and actually put it together into one full container load rather than LCL, which, as we know, LCL most of the time ends up being almost as costly as a full container, you know? So being able to optimize your costings and utilize that, these are all services that we offer top to bottom. If there is a logistics piece or something that requires support, we are here to help support all of our partners, manufacturing, retail, sales, all of those pieces to make this as easy and seamless transition from product, from manufacturing onto the showroom floor.
And I'm going to pile on there a little bit, Scott.
Yeah.
What we've seen, or one of the trends we've seen over really the past year and a half, are foreign manufacturers and foreign governments that are actually getting involved with these manufacturers that are wanting to basically circumvent the middleman. What they're wanting to do is come and distribute within the United States at the e-commerce level. And what I would encourage, if there's folks that are that are currently importing now, to look at their model and make sure that that's the best way to basically combat that competition. But what we're able to do, if somebody is shipping from foreign countries, doesn't just have to be Asia. It could be anywhere anywhere in the world. We're basically a true port to door delivery team, even in the e-commerce section. We handle we're putting together complete logistics solutions where we take control of it at the the port of origin, provide the ocean freight, provide the drayage into the warehouse, provide the warehousing piece of that, negotiate the freight rates, B2B and B2C. We have a white glove and threshold delivery option, that's nationwide. So we can provide all that, but I say that to say those same options are available to domestic companies as well as foreign companies. So it's just something to think about. Is the landscape changes, and I said it from the start, volatility and I don't know what the new normal is. It seems like the new normal changes faces about every 3 or 4 months. So the only thing constant is change, and we're trying to make that change a little more palatable for folks who want to do it. And we can I tell people we can provide you the whole suite of services and be your full logistics provider, or we can just do a la carte pieces of it as well.
Great. So there was a hand that was raised while you were speaking. So I would want to give Sandra an opportunity to ask your question or make your comments.
Yes, I heard Vietnam. Do you have any plans to do consolidation in Indonesia? And where do you bring product into when you do consolidation internationally?
There are no plans currently for Indonesia. if basically, necessity's the mother of invention. So if there's a need there, definitely that's what precipitated the warehouse in Vietnam. So if there is, if there's a need there, we definitely will look at it, and we're, like I said, we're very nimble. We can, we can put that together fairly quickly. And even, in the meantime, possibly, utilize partners until we do get it up and running, if that's something that makes financial sense. As far as what port we bring it into from Ho Chi Minh, we can bring it into any port. It was initially the Ho Chi Minh warehouse was initially created or designed to provide retailers the ability to pull from different manufacturing facilities. We combine it, put it in one container, and ship it over full container load. Now what we're seeing is manufacturers or furniture importers, that want to utilize that to do kind of the same thing, is to pull, maybe a half a container of beds over from one plant and a half a container of upholstery over from another, and us consolidate it and mix it, or it may be multiple different facilities. But yeah, I mean, it's not on the roadmap, but like I said, if there is a need, we'll definitely look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Sandra. I definitely want to be respectful of everyone's time. Just want to give one last call out for maybe one more question. If anyone has it. All right. Well, in that case, Keith, Scott, I want to thank you both for making time today. For anyone that is interested in taking the conversation further, or wanting to connect with you guys during market, where can they find you? Where are you going to be at? Where, I'll obviously share your contact information out with everyone that jumped on, but where can they find you at market?
Scott, you want to take that?
Yeah, we're at the American Home Furnishings building. We have a booth there in the services section. And so unfortunately, I don't have it. Keith, do you have the booth number memorized? I know we've had it a couple of years, so.
I wish I did.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. But so you guys
But
are
if you come, definitely. I mean,
resource center?
Yes, in the resource center area. So please do swing by and see us.
And
we are listed on the High Point app. We did look, I confirmed that. So obviously you can reach out to us through the High Point app and schedule time, so that we can visit with you. We look forward to it.
Hey, Steve, if you would, when you post the recording of this on LinkedIn and various places, if I'll send you that booth location, the actual number, as well as mine and Scott's contact information, our email addresses, in case anybody has any questions that they think of after this is over with. We can put it on there.
Perfect. All right. Well, again, I want to thank you both. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and joining us for this conversation. And I hope everyone has a great day, weekend, and hopefully a successful market next week. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.